Morning, sir.
Hi, Kevin. My name's Brandon Kelsey. Along with me is Miss Pearl Wise and Mr. Tony Marabella will be your panel today.
Morning, everybody.
Plan the process to you. Read some information to the record, have a Pearl overview, ask you some questions. You can respond. At the end, you can make a statement. You'll take a vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
And I'm just looking at everybody. Here we have a lot of folks. We have Miss Jasmine Cole and Bianca Cruz speaking at the appropriate time. We have Mr. Thomas Thornton, Senior, Tamara McCormick, Brandon Thornton, Chandra Helms, Natasha Jefferson, Melissa Triplett. I see we have Mr. Robert Lancaster and Andrew Hunley. Got everybody covered? I think we're good. At the appropriate time, everybody can make, not everybody, these are the folks that stay with them. Kevin Thornton, DOC number 429875, first class offender, parole eligibility date 3/31/2023, full term date.
Man, he looks young. He looks really young.
40 years since manslaughter. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you answer Mr. Marabella's questions, please?
Good morning, Mr. Thornton. How are you? My name is Tony Marabella. Your case was assigned to me, so I'll start asking some questions. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How old are you, Mr. Thornton?
I'm 44 years of age,
How long have you been in prison on these charges?
25 years, sir.
Tell me a little bit about what happened.
That day started off with my daughter's birthday, and I had all intent to enjoy the day with my daughter. We actually went to the store and got my daughter some gifts and things. It's her first birthday, so after a while, after we came from buying her some gifts, I left and I went to be in an area where I lived at in Faraday, and I went abroad and ran across some guys that I had been knowing. In the process, he told me that one of our friends had passed away. Unfortunately, it was his funeral, and I didn't know. I had been out of town for a few days. So a little later, we had begun drinking, and it's a customary during that time to do what they call like a celebratory or remembrance of a person that passed away by pouring out alcohol, and that's something that we had did at the time. Later on, it goes that as I was around
What were you drinking?
Thunderbird,
How much?
a full bottle, and then also we drank some cans of beer.
All right.
Yes. And then it goes on to where a little later they had been having interaction where music was playing and things. We kind of hung out and we kind of mourned his passing away. And by this time I was heavily intoxicated. So it goes on to I began doing other things where unfortunately I had sold drugs.
I just Googled it, and Thunderbird looks to be like wine, but 17.5% alcohol, so it's strong wine, but man, that looks gross.
Then we'll get back to the crime. Okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Got a feeling you're kind of smoothing over everything, and I don't want that. I want you to be very frank and very honest about what you did and why you did it. Okay?
Yes,
You've
sir.
got a lot of support. You've got a good report here. You may get out today. But if you're not straight up honest with me, you might not get my vote. You clear on that?
Yes,
So
sir.
don't
Very.
be covering up things.
No, I
How old
was
are you at this time? How old were you?
I was 18, sir.
All right, you're 18 years old. You had a daughter. How old was your daughter?
I have two. On
How
this
old was your
day,
daughter? You had two daughters?
yes, one was one already, and the day that this crime took place, that was my other daughter's first birthday.
All right, at 18 years old, when did you start using drugs?
When I was about 14,
What kind of drugs did you use?
only marijuana,
What kind of drugs did you start selling?
marijuana and crack cocaine.
When did you start selling marijuana and crack cocaine?
Around the same time, around 14 years old.
So at 14 years old, you were selling marijuana and selling crack cocaine. Who were you selling it to?
To the users, people that did crack, smoke crack, and people that smoke marijuana, just mostly usually teenagers, and then for the marijuana and older people who smoked crack around that time.
Okay, now let's fast forward a little bit. How
Yeah.
often were you using crack cocaine and marijuana?
No, I've never used crack, sir. I smoke
And
marijuana.
how often were you using marijuana?
Thankfully, around that time, I had stopped smoking marijuana. I was drinking alcohol. That had became my drug of choice because I had stopped smoking marijuana
How often were you drinking alcohol?
every day, consistently every day.
Oh, right.
Sir,
What were you drinking every day?
mostly heavy, like beer and usually Thunderbird.
Okay, so you weren't just drinking because your friend died, you drank every day back then,
Oh,
right?
no, yes, sir. Yes, I did. Yes, sir. I drunk every day.
That's what I'm talking about when you're saying, oh, well, it was because my friend died. You drank every day back
Yes, I did, sir.
you're an alcoholic.
Yes.
So tell me then what happened. How did you end up shooting these people?
Yes. Unfortunately, like I was saying, I had a run-in with someone else where we had a few words, and that run-in kind of caused me to feel like, you know, that he possibly was going to tell somebody, possibly maybe the police. I'm not sure, but that's how I felt, that they was going to tell somebody that we had a few words because I actually had hit somebody with a pistol. So in hitting that person with a pistol, I felt that they were going to call the police. Sir,
Who did you hit with the pistol?
it was a guy around the way that I had been knowing that he had owed me some money
Why did you have a pistol?
because the lifestyle that I was in, I felt threatened just in case if somebody wanted to harm me because of what I was doing.
You had guns and drugs.
Yes, sir.
That was your lifestyle back then at 18?
Yes, sir.
So tell me how it turned out that you ended up shooting these two people.
After I got into the altercation with the person who I had the run-in with, I ended up leaving from there because I knew Johnny Ray was a person that I was very cool with, and he was a good guy. And so I knew that at times when I go to his house, I would go to his house just to kind of get away from everything. I would do this off because he called me his son. He was a real good guy. So when I left from by the incident that I had caused with the other person, I ended up going to Mr. McCrane's house just to kind of get away from everything. And unfortunately, in the process, when I made it there, Miss Johnson was there, and Mr. McCrane was like, there you go, ask him, about the drugs. And so when I made it there, she was like, hey, let me get something till I get straight. Like, let me get something till I get paid or something. And I was like, no, man. I was like, no, I'm okay. I'd rather not. And she was like, come on, man. I'm gonna make sure I pay you. So I was like, no, I'd rather not. I'm cool. And so she was like, see, that's y'all problem now. Y'all always think somebody's not gonna pay y'all. And I was like, I just don't worry about it. So she said, see, that's y'all problem. Y'all think anybody can pay y'all. She said, that's wrong with y'all little young boys now. So she said, if I really wanted what you had, I'd take it. And then when she said that, she stood up. And I looked at her like when she stood up and she made a step, and I put a gun on her and I shot her. And after I shot her, then Mr. McCrane looked.
Where'd you shoot her at?
I honestly didn't aim. It was just an impulse. I didn't even.
Yeah.
But it hit her, not mistaken, according to the police reports, in the neck.
Then what'd you do?
And then Mr. McCrane looked and he said, hey, you shot her. And then I just impulsively, out of fear, I shot him as well. And that's during a time when I was so misdirected in my thinking, sir. I was young. And
Let's talk about what you've done while you've been in prison.
Yes, sir.
What programs have you taken in prison that would convince me to vote to let you out? What are some of the programs you've taken and what have you gotten out of them?
Oh, mainly, there's a lot of programs, sir. One of the biggest influencing factors for me at the beginning of my incarceration, when I entered DOC, was anger management. Because over time, I realized that I didn't know that I had an anger problem, but in time, as I began to get involved in the class more, I began to see myself as a person, saw how I was and how my behavior was, because that was my biggest problem, my behavior, and I didn't know that I had a behavior issue as I did. But coming to prison and seeing how I was and able to get involved in religious programs, as well as programs like that, I was able to see myself and see who I did not want to be anymore. See how I came to the point that I had became to be a person to make a decision as I did. As well, I got involved in a class called Living in Balance, which incorporates a lot of the other classes that I had been involved in as well as time went on. I took Living in Balance was a very good class because it helped me to see, and it helped me to not to see how I can live without being on alcohol, using drugs, and anything that can be mood altering or mind altering substances.
What other, taken anything specific as to drug rehabilitation? Those are educational programs. Have you gone through any sort of long-term treatment program, such as Steve Hoyle or something like that, that will teach you tools to be able to maintain your sobriety? Have you done anything like that? AA, have you done anything involving AA, the 12 steps, or anything like that?
I was involved in small group therapy, sir. Is that related to it?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Yes,
I'm
I
asking
definitely
you how you're going to stay sober when you get out.
Oh, that is going to be easy, but I definitely have taken into account.
You say it's going to be easy? Tell me how it's going to be easy.
But I have taken into account the need to not be involved with alcohol and drug use. My mother once was also an alcoholic, and seeing how her life, unfortunately, caused a lot of disruption in our life, and I mistakenly as a young teen followed the same path, and seeing in time how that disrupted my life and caused me or led to the decision that I made, seeing that
There's no question alcohol and drugs are horrible.
Yes.
And they cause pain for everybody. So I understand that, and I'm sure you understand. My question to you is, how are you going to make sure you don't fall back into that same lifestyle?
I'm definitely going to be involved in, I have, like, getting with the Pro Project. There are great people who have definitely given me the assurance that they will be on my side to help me.
What are you going to do?
I'm definitely going to make sure that I be involved in all necessary things.
Tell me what you're going to do. Tell me what your plan is to stay sober. If you got out today, how do you intend on staying sober and not going back to using drugs, selling drugs, or anything like that, or drinking alcohol? How are you going to do that? Don't tell me what everybody else is going to do for you. What are you going to do?
Sir, I'm definitely going to avoid it. I'm definitely going to stay away from it, and I'm going to purposely get involved.
It's everywhere. Alcohol and drugs are everywhere. You intend on going to a restaurant? You intend on going somewhere to have lunch with somebody, or dinner with somebody? There's alcohol everywhere. How are you going to avoid that?
Oh, I'm going to
have a plan. What's your plan?
Yes, my plan is I'm going to be involved with people who are on the right path, family, friends, people that are directed on the right way of living, that chooses that they have.
What are your triggers that would provoke you to drink? Do you know what those are? Do you know what your triggers would be? What sorts? What?
Things that can be stressful, things that can be stressful, things that I've learned now that when I experience these stressful moments, though, that I have people that I can talk to, that I can confide in, and things that I can actually, because over time I have learned to, when I feel uncomfortable or when I feel that I have stressful moments, I have things, I go into prayer, definitely. I definitely trust in God. That has been my key figure over the years to be able to, maintain a proper mind and a proper behavior.
What are some of the tools then? You know your triggers. What are some of the tools that you use?
Definitely, I have.
12 steps?
Yes, definitely. I learned. This is definitely what I learned, and it's not rehearsed, but I learned it because initially, as I came to prison, and I was realizing how I was and what led to all this, what was the cause of why I made the drastic decision and mistake. I began to realize that there was a need for God to help me realize, how I was and the place I had got into my life. I realized that, my addiction and my use of alcohol, that led to my life to become a minister because of my over affiliation with it. I knew that God would be the way for me to be able to find myself. I knew that I needed to give my life up. I needed to change how I was, how I behaved. I needed redirecting and thinking because my biggest problem was that. My biggest problem was who I was and how I was and the way that person came out because that's not how I was raised. That isn't who the people know me to be in the area, in that town. And
What kind of work if you were released early, Mr. Thornton?
sir,
What kind of work?
I definitely aim to drive trucks. I've been talking about that for years. I've talked about it so much. My daughter now drives trucks, but I'm definitely going to get my CDL. I've been trying to do that for years, even before coming to prison. I started to get my CDL, but I wasn't old enough at the time. They told me I had to be 21 and I was 18. I've always had a passion for that.
What can you tell us about Mr. Thornton?
Let's see, how you doing, Mr. Marabella? He, stated several things that talk about the write-up history. His last write-up was in 13, but it was a low court write-up. His actual last high court write-up, what we call him, was 2010. So he's managed to stay out of trouble and do well with his disciplinary history. He is a trustee. He works in our kitchen on our trustee compound over there. And he has a pride member as well. So just the fact his disciplinary record's been very good and he's a trustee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we're here from Andrew.
Andrew Hunley, Louisiana Parole Project, appearing on behalf of Kevin today to assure the board that we are committed to providing Kevin with long-term reentry support. I want to, first start off by saying I know Kevin. I was incarcerated with Kevin whenever I was a young man and whenever he was a young man. He is truly one of the most intelligent people that I've been incarcerated with. I think if Warden Bickham knew just how smart and talented of a guy that he had, he'd probably give him a couple more jobs. And I say that to say that he has the capacity to truly be great if he comes home. He's someone that whatever employer gives him an opportunity, he's going to do very well. He's going to get promoted. He's just got the capacity to be a really great success story. So that being said, what I can tell you is that we will work with Kevin to ensure, and just so the board knows that his PED is actually in March. So on his 45th birthday. So if he was granted release, we will have a strong, our strong reentry plan will continue to be in place. But obviously, knowing Kevin's alcohol history, we are prepared. Our staff, social worker will administer a test and ensure that he has all of the follow-up care that he needs. We would connect Kevin to a sponsor, which would be a tool for him to utilize. We will ensure that Kevin is aware that he needs to attend Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, not just for a couple weeks, not just for a couple months, but for the rest of his life to ensure sobriety. And Kevin will also be surrounded with, staff and others who also attend those meetings, who will ensure that he makes that part of his life. Kevin's record in prison has been very impressive. I know he didn't give the best answer on, some issues related to his follow-up on sobriety, but I just want to make the point to the board that he has the capacity to do very well. I'm very confident that he is going to do very well if given a second chance, and that he will take his sobriety seriously and take advantage of the tools that are available of him to ultimately be successful. Thank you.
I had no idea that Andrew with the Parole Project was served. It's pretty interesting that he served with the inmate here. But what I don't understand is being someone who is intelligent and then having a direct relationship with Andrew with the Parole Project. How did he not join an AA class? I don't think he gets out until he completes like a Steve Boyle program through AA. He hasn't done it, and how do you miss that? How do you not know that that's something they're going to want you to do? I haven't watched this. I'm watching this in real time now. I don't know what the board is going to say, but if I had to guess, it's going to be something about taking AA before he gets out.
And everything that happened throughout this whole thing, everybody that suffered, I am definitely, truly, terribly sorry for all that I've done. It wasn't my intent. I never awoke that day expecting or planning to do anything that I've caused. Truly, if I'm looked at as being a person that has changed, I am truly one of those people. I'm truly a person that has committed and dedicated all of my time after the last 25 years, really changing who I was. I knew that was necessary because who I came in to be, I was never satisfied with who I became. That's not who I am. I promise with everything in me. I want to apologize again. I'm sorry I was nervous. This wasn't my best presentation of who I am, but I definitely am a person that has truly taken into account all that has been going on. 25 years of my life, I've witnessed a lot. I've watched my daughters go from little girls to women now. Unfortunately, the families of the victim families, their family cannot be here. Their loved ones are not here, and they have been having to deal with their loss over the time. And I know they may not have come at peace or come to peace with what have been going on. I'm sorry for all of their loss, and I hope that you see me as a person that can possibly contribute to society my best. And what I've learned is I've learned a lot, and what I've learned and how I have been misled and just seeing the things that I thought was real and took into account that this was the life, the way to live according to the 90s. What I've learned was all misleading. It was all lies. And since I've been incarcerated, I have made sure to share to the younger guys that, hey, man, don't believe what you're seeing. That's not true. What you're seeing with the music and the videos, that's not true. That is not the life that we should live. That's not the life that you can actually be a contribution to society, help your family or anything. And that is the thing that I definitely would carry out.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Cruz, would you like to wrap up?
Yes, Your Honor. Again, I would just like to reiterate what Andrew was saying. If y'all had the opportunity to get to know Kevin as we have, he is remarkable. He has committed his entire time in these past 25 years to embrace the opportunity he's been given to change the person. And I would like to point out, he was only 18 when this happened. He had not had the opportunity to start making those positive choices to turn his life around. And so he used his time here to start engaging with not only himself, but the people around him in a more positive way. And I also want to draw attention that he has completed 2 different substance abuse courses. He has, in the brief we submitted, you will see a certificate for a 5-month and an 11-month completion for substance abuse courses. He has been blessed by the support of his family, and those that you see behind us today are only a fraction of the support, family and friends-wise, that he has. His aunt Melissa is with us here today, and that is who, after he completes his time with the Parole Project, will help make sure he is continuously going to his AA meetings and substance abuse meetings, and make sure he continues to have access to his faith and engaging in his faith with his family, which is something he is excited to have the opportunity to do so. Granting Kevin this chance will allow him to go the next step in his reform and be able to show and prove to both society and his family that he has gained the skills to be the collected man who has a purpose and control of his life and his emotions, and is dedicated to bringing pride to his family and his daughters. He now was also just granted the blessing of a 2nd grandchild, and he hopes to show through his daughters also, because what you're not hearing today was that he maintained an amazing relationship with his children. And unfortunately, because they're hard workers just like their father, they could not be here with us today. And he has always shown them the right direction and encouraged them to be strong in what they want to accomplish and to take education seriously and to know that life is beautiful and that they can make a difference in people's lives. And so he's excited to hopefully show y'all the man that he is today and be granted an opportunity to contribute into society in a way that he was never able to prior to his crime. So we just ask that you give him that opportunity here today. Thank you for your time.
Now, prepare to vote. Mr. Marabella.
Mr. Thornton, I want to commend you for what you've accomplished while you've been in prison. You've got a lot of good support. You've got a good transition plan. I'm not convinced that you are completely honest with yourself about your alcoholism. I'm very concerned about that. You've accomplished a lot while you've been in there. I think that you are very intelligent. No question about it. You're quite a young, intelligent young man who's accomplished a whole lot of things. But I am not convinced that you are on top of the addiction. My vote today would be to grant conditionally on your completing the 6-month Steve Hall course, where you can learn more about the tools, more about your triggers, more about the things. I was expecting you to tell me what you were going to do about staying sober, not what everybody else was going to do for you to maintain your sobriety. And I know you're intelligent, and I know you're very smart, and I know you know that up here. I just don't think you have it here yet. And I'm hoping you can accomplish that in the next 6 months, and if you're able to do that, then you'll be able to get out, do the parole project with at least 3 AA meetings a week and 5 hours of community service work per month. So that would be my vote. Sure.
Mr. Thornton, you are one of those classic examples that the drug dealers are the smart people in the community. We all do that. They just transfer those skills from drug dealing to other things. It would be great citizens in the community. You are an example of that. I concur with my colleague. My vote is to grant today the warden's comment, good institutional record, and I concur with the need for a settlement fund vote and really make sure when you get out, you stay out. And I'd like to see you do some community service. Community service that needs at least 8 hours a month. Giving back, sharing your testimony. You got a lot. There's a lot.